So before starting tuberculosis, I would like to tell you that if you have not subscribed our channel Holy Scholar yet, please do subscribe it because we upload videos daily so that you can get the notification whenever we upload videos. And in the description box there is a link of our app. You can download the app from Google Play and there you can get very interesting videos. PDF notes are also there, chapter wise, class wise PDF notes we have provided there, which is going to be very helpful for you because it is very concise and very according to your syllabus. Okay, and we have also made MCQ questions which is going to help you to test yourself where do you stand, and if you are interested for live classes also, we conduct that also. So let's start, and before that subscribe the channel Holy Scholar. So how we can control this tuberculosis? There is antibiotics that are present for tuberculosis. Since it is also a bacterial disease, we need antibiotic for bacterial diseases. Okay, so the control is from using antibiotics. Okay, next, what is the prevention? How can we prevent from getting tuberculosis? The first thing is that we should be aware of public cleanliness. Our public cleanliness should be there so that this bacteria do not grow, do not get the chance to grow. And secondly, a vaccine is given to kids when they are infant, and that is of BCG vaccine. That is for this tuberculosis only. Okay, so prevention can be done by two modes. First is the public cleanliness. Okay, public cleanliness in fact is important for every kind of pathogen related disease. If our society is clean, if our surrounding is clean, there are so many pathogens which are not going to grow, because these pathogens, they mostly grow where there is a dirty places, where there is a water stagnant is there, water is collected, so they always try to grow on these places. Okay, so if our surrounding is clean, there is proper sewage, there is no garbage and all, then we can get free from lots of these pathogen related disease. Okay, so public cleanliness is very important, not only for tuberculosis but many pathogen diseases. And of BGC, BCG vaccine is very important for kids. Okay, when they are infants, we should be taken the BCG vaccine. So vaccination has been already taught. If you will go in my part 6, part 7 video, we have talked about immunization and vaccination, in which the small amount of the bacteria that is causing a particular disease is being injected in our body. It is in so minute portion that it will not cause disease, but it will generate antibiotics. Okay, so when these antibiotics are generated, they grow up to fight against those disease. That is basically vaccination. Okay, so what happens in this? We have seen the prevention is that public cleanliness is very important. BCG vaccine for kids is very important. So we have seen that how this TB infects us, and it is being very important to cover our mouth and go in public places. Okay, so we shall continue with other bacterial diseases now. We will see other bacterial diseases like typhoid and cholera we will see. Fine, diarrhea, all these. So let's see typhoid now. Hello students, welcome to Holy Scholar classes. So today I will be taking the part 8 of chapter 13, that is why do we fall ill. So we have discussed a lot about different kinds of pathogens, mode of their transmission and all. But today we will be discussing about different list of diseases, okay? And this list today will be of bacterial diseases. We will discuss for bacterial diseases, different bacterial diseases, tuberculosis, diarrhea. Diarrhea is also caused by pathogens and viruses also, but we will discuss it today. Typhoid we will see and cholera. So this tuberculosis, typhoid, cholera are basically bacterial diseases which we are going to discuss today. We will see which bacteria causes a particular disease, what causes TB, what causes typhoid, what causes cholera. Then we will see what are the symptoms, what is the mode of transmission, how this disease is being transmitted from one person to another person. Okay? And then we will see all the symptoms which can tell that we are suffering from a particular disease. Also we will see the prevention. How can we prevent it? What measures, what steps we can take so that this disease does not grow. Okay? And we will also see in the last the control. How can we control these diseases? By taking antibiotics, because these diseases are bacterial disease, so antibiotic will be very effective, and different controls we can see. Okay, so let's start with bacterial disease. First we will discuss the tuberculosis. Next we will see diarrhea. So what is the causal organism in diarrhea? Diarrhea can occur from any protozoan also, bacteria also, and from viruses also. Okay, so causative organism for diarrhea is any of the pathogen. It can be a virus, viruses, or it can be bacteria, or even the protozoans. Okay, fine. So what is the mode of transmission? How diarrhea is transmitted or how diarrhea is being carried out? What is the carrier or mode of transmission? So if you see that if you take contaminated food or water, you are surely going to be suffer from diarrhea. Okay? So carrier or the mode of transmission, that is contaminated food, and water. Okay? Especially if you take bad water, you are surely going to suffer from diarrhea. Next we will see typhoid also. In the typhoid also same thing is there. If you take contaminated food or water, you are going to suffer from that. Okay? So diarrhea, you can see diarrhea is also one of the symptoms in some of the diseases like typhoid and all. You are going to suffer from a symptom that is of diarrhea. Okay, so basically if you see diarrhea, so if you are suffering from diarrhea, what is the best way to recover it? Okay, so you can for that you must have heard about ORS. Okay, so ORS is very good if you take ORS, because what happens in diarrhea, body fluid is being lost. Okay, so it is said that, and also the concentration of sodium and potassium concentration is being disbalanced, right? So the concentration of the salts and body fluid, we have to maintain two things. What we have to maintain in the diarrhea? Body fluid plus salt concentration. So for gaining the salt concentration and body fluid, as ORS comes. Okay, that is all. You have to just make it in a water. Everything is written how you have to make. First you have to boil the water, then let the water cool down, and in that you have to add that. You keep it one bottle and you can use that for 24 hours. Okay. So if you don't have ORS, the other option is that take a pinch of sugar, salt and water and mix it. That also acts as ORS. Okay. So for this prevention, if you take, so what you can do for prevention, ORS or salt and sugar solution. ORS or salt and sugar solution. Fine. Next, what is the control? How can you control diarrhea? So for controlling diarrhea, the first very important thing is proper sanitization. Okay. If there is no proper sanitization, so there is a chances of having diarrhea. Second thing is our personal hygiene. We should personally be very clean. We should often wash our hands. Whenever we drink water, we should see that it is being boiled. It is not contaminated. We should not eat food which is being prepared from lots of days before, because there is a chance of being food poisoning and all. Okay, so control, if you see, for control, first thing is proper sanitization. Okay, proper sanitization is very important. And second thing is your personal cleanliness or your personal hygiene. If you don't keep yourself clean, you will surely suffer from diarrhea, or you can suffer from any kind of disease. So personal hygiene, personal cleanliness is very important. Okay. So diarrhea, the causative organisms can be any of the pathogen. It can be viruses, bacteria or protozoa. What is the carrier of how it is transmitted is because of contaminated food or water. And how you can prevent it? ORS. If you get the ORS powder, just make it in a water as suggested on the wrapper. But nowadays ORS liquid itself is coming in a tetra pack. You can just drink it one. In different flavors it is coming in pack. So this ORS, and if you don't get ORS, you can just at your home prepare ORS. For that you have to do a pinch of salt and sugar. You have to mix it in water. That is going to act as ORS solution. So the control is that you have to be proper sanitization. Your personal hygiene matters. You should be clean. Cleanliness is very important. So basically in diarrhea you have to control these two things. Your fluid loss is very much, and your body concentration, salt concentration, sodium, potassium, that you have to maintain. So for that ORS comes. Okay. So this was about diarrhea. Next we will see for typhoid. So we have seen malaria, which was a protozoan. Diarrhea is also can be done from protozoan. Next we are going to see typhoid, which is a bacterial disease. Okay, typhoid is being carried out by bacteria. So third one is typhoid. Okay. So typhoid, if you see the causative organism, it's a bacteria, and the name of the bacteria is Salmonella typhi. On that bacteria name, the disease is being called typhoid. Salmonella typhi. Okay. So the causative organism is a bacteria. The name of the bacteria is Salmonella typhi. Okay, It's Salmonella typhi, and on the name of this typhi it is being typhoid. Fine. So causative organism is a bacteria. Then again, what is the mode of transmission of typhoid? It is again like diarrhea. It is also being transmitted through contaminated food and water. If you take the water which is not good, if you even eat the ice creams are a very good carrier for typhoid. If you eat ice cream which is being prepared from contaminated water, surely you are going to suffer from typhoid. Okay, so mode of transmission of carrier is the contaminated food and water. Okay, so we should be very aware of this, that we do not drink bad water, never. Now next we will see the symptoms. If we talk about symptoms in typhoid there is a high fever. Fever is very high. In fact, you are going to have headache. Headache is also there in case of typhoid. There is some kind of stomach pain because our intestine is being affected in case of typhoid. Okay, so some stomach pain is there. You will feel very weak. Weakness is there. Vomiting can be there. Loose stools can be there. Okay, and if you will see the tongue in case of typhoid, this tongue is going to have a white coating. Okay, so a white coating on the tongue is one of the example. Your chest and all are going to get some red dot rashes like this. Okay, some red rashes, and one of the symptoms that cannot be seen from outside, but it generally takes place in typhoid, is that enlarged liver and spleen. Okay, your liver size gets enlarged, your spleen size gets enlarged. That's why if you are having a typhoid fever, it is said that you should not eat very spicy, very oily, because your liver is being affected. Okay, liver and intestines are being affected, so you should avoid oily, you should avoid very spicy things, because it is going to affect it more. In some cases, if it is very severe, there is an ulcer in the intestine. Some of the people suffer because of typhoid. Okay, so these are some of the symptoms. So the symptoms are high fever, headache is there. Okay, vomiting, loose stool. Fine. And people will feel very weak. Weakness is there. You can also see rash on your body. Red rashes you can see on the body. White coating on the tongue. White coating on the tongue is there. And what happens if you see there is a stomach pain, your liver and spleen gets enlarged, and if it is very severe, there is a chance of ulcer in the intestine. Okay, so stomach pain, your liver and spleen gets enlarged. In severe cases, there is a ulcer in intestine. Okay, so suppose this is your intestine. So somewhere here there will be a ulcer. Okay, this is the intestine, and here will be ulcer. But that is in severe cases. So symptoms you can see, high fever is there, headache Rash on the body while coating on the tongue is very common. Stomach pain is there. Liver and spleen gets enlarged. Ulcer in the intestine. So that's why if you have a typhoid fever, avoid spicy and oily things. The treatment is that you can take any antibiotic and fluid. Fluid, to maintain your fluid, it is very important. Okay, in any form it can be. Okay, but fluid maintenance is very important. So if we see for the treatment can be either you take some fluids are important, and also antibiotics. Why antibiotics is given in typhoid? Because it is a bacterial disease, okay, not a viral disease. So antibiotics are very important in bacterial disease. If it would have been a viral disease, no antibiotic. Okay. So how can this typhoid be prevented? For prevention, there should be a proper sewage system. Your sewage system should be very good. Means there should no water, bad water or a contaminated water. Second thing, if you drink water, it should either be, the drinking water should be chlorine should be there, and or you can use a boiled water. If you boil water and then you drink, it makes the bacteria to die. Okay, when you boil it, because these pathogens they mostly grow when they are at cold places. Okay, and the hot places, when you boil it, it makes them to die. Okay, so treatment you have seen, it's a fluid or antibiotics you have to take. Bacterial disease, that's why antibiotics. And for the prevention, the sewage should be very proper. Water that you are drinking should be very clean, chlorinated water, or you can boil the water and you can then drink. Okay, boil the water, fill it in a filter, let it get cooled down and drink. Okay, so this was for typhoid, which is a bacterial disease. Okay. So next we will see cholera. Okay. So if we talk about cholera, again the causative agent is a bacteria, and the bacteria is Vibrio cholerae. So on that name, the disease is being called as cholera. Okay. So the causative organism is a bacteria you can say, and the name of the bacteria is Vibrio cholerae. Okay. Fine. It causes cholera infection. This bacteria causes Vibrio cholerae. It causes cholera infection. So basically what happens, what this bacteria does, it produces toxins. Okay, it produces toxins in the small intestine, and that is very dangerous. What does this bacteria do? It produces toxins in the small intestine of human beings. Okay. Fine. So basically we will see it is a bacterial disease. The name of the bacteria is Vibrio cholerae, that produces toxins in the small intestine. If we go for symptoms of cholera, what happens? Since this bacteria, it produces toxins in the, so what happens? This secretion of toxins, what it does, it secretes the enormous amount of water. Sorry, not blood, enormous amount of water. Okay. So what happens? The symptom is mainly watery diarrhea. What is watery diarrhea? The stool that is passed is very in watery form. So there is a much loss of fluid from the body. When there is a diarrhea, there is a much loss of fluid from the body. So there is a rapid loss of fluid and salts, that electrolytes, sodium and potassium. So what happens? A person who is having cholera is going to suffer from dehydration. Okay, because there is excess loss of water, so there can be dehydration. So the mode of transmission is contaminated food and water, as we have seen in typhoid also. The mode of transmission was contaminated food and water. Similarly, here also the mode of transmission is contaminated food and water. But if you see the symptoms, the first and a very basic symptom of diarrhea is the watery diarrhea. That is, you are going to there is a rapid loss of fluid and salt. So dehydration takes place. Okay. So mode of transmission. So like we have seen in typhoid, similarly here also the mode of transmission is contaminated food and water. Okay, contaminated food and water. And if we see the symptoms, in symptoms, since the body is producing lots of since the bacteria is producing lots of toxins in the small intestine, there is a much loss of water. So there is a watery diarrhea. Okay. Watery diarrhea will be there. There is a rapid loss of fluids and salts from the body. Means there is a dehydration. Electrolytes are being lost. The salts are being lost. Okay. So these are some of the symptoms: watery diarrhea, rapid loss of fluid and salts, and dehydration. Now, how this, as we have seen that the mode of transmission is contaminated food and water. What are some of the items that can cause cholera? So cholera causes are because of what? The municipal water supply. It is very commonly, sometimes it is carrying cholera bacteria. Okay. Next, if some ice cream vendor, he makes the ice cream with a municipal water. Okay. So that's why if that water is being used, it is obviously going to cause cholera. Next, if you eat the food and drink something from street vendors, it is very dangerous. Street vendors' food mostly leads to cholera. Okay. Next, what happens? There are some foods, there are some vegetables that are grown with water contaminating human waste. Okay. So that water which is contaminated with human waste, water which is containing human waste, if we use that water for growing foods, fruits, so vegetables, then that is also very dangerous. Okay. And sometimes the raw and uncooked fishes, especially those sea fishes or seafoods that are caught in water polluted with sewage. So that is also very common for causing cholera. Okay. So cholera causes we will see. Okay. cholera causes are first of all the municipal water, that is from municipal supply. Water supplied by municipality. Okay, municipality supplied water, municipal. Fine. Then the ice creams that are being made by municipal water. Then the food and drinks of street vendors. Fine. Then the vegetables that are grown using water, that are grown with water, that contains human waste. Fine. Next, if you will see this raw and uncooked foods, they are also very dangerous. Okay, especially the seafoods, because the seawater that is being polluted. Okay, so raw and uncooked seafoods or fishes. Okay, so these are some cholera causing agents. Water supplies by municipal, ice cream made by municipal water, if you eat food and drinks of street vendors, vegetables that are grown with water that contains human waste, and raw and uncooked sea and food waters. Okay, so these are the cholera causes. Meanwhile, I would like to tell you that if you have not subscribed our channel Always Cholera, please do subscribe it, because we upload videos daily, and whenever we will upload the video, you will get a notification. So for getting the notification, please subscribe our channel Always Cholera. Next, how can we control this cholera? So as we know, cholera is caused by bacteria. So for bacteria, we need antibiotic. Antibiotic is given for all bacteria causing diseases. Okay, so this disease is like typhoid, it is also caused by bacteria. So we can use antibiotic for it. So for control, what we have to do? Antibiotics are there. Okay. Next, what happens? As I have told you that there is a much discharge of water. The body loses its water and salt concentration. So we need to balance our salt concentration of the body and also the fluid. So for that fluid and salt balance, what we need? We need ORS, and if you don't have ORS, you can make that pinch of salt, sugar in a water, and that solution you can use. Okay, so either you are going for ORS or salt and sugar solution. Okay, so these two things can control cholera. Antibiotics is very important, ORS is very important. ORS is for maintaining the fluid of the body and the electrolytes. Maintaining fluid and electrolyte, or you can say the salt concentration of body. Fine. Now prevention. How can we lead the prevention of cholera. How can we prevent that cholera disease do not occur to us? So what can be the preventive measures? So for preventive measures, the first thing is that you should regularly wash your hand. Keep on washing your hands frequently with soap and water, so that if by any chance the bacteria comes in your hand, it can be washed off or it can be died. Okay. Next, drinking water is very important. Means drinking safe water. It is not like you use any water in your drink. So most of the diseases are being caused because of the contaminated water we drink. So always try to drink safe water. Okay. Next, if you want to eat food that is completely cooked and hot, no raw foods should be there, because what happens when we cook food, these pathogens, bacteria, they die. But if you eat raw foods, they will be present in that and they are not going to die. Okay. Then stick to fruits and vegetables that you can peel off. Okay. Like if we take the example of fruits, you can peel banana and eat. You can peel mango and you can eat. But if we see for berries, grapes, you cannot peel and eat. So we should avoid these types of fruits, because the one that you have peeled, mostly these bacteria, they are on the outer surface of some fruit or vegetable. So if you peel it, they go off. But if you don't peel them and you directly eat it, there is a chances that you are going to engulf those bacteria also. And for cholera, there is a vaccine. So vaccine is a preventive measure also. So for prevention, wash your hand with soap and water frequently. Okay. Secondly, what you have to do, you have to drink only safe water, chlorinated water or a boiled water. Okay. So drink safe water. That safe water will be either a RO water, or it will be a chlorinated water, or it will be a boiled water. Okay, always have a habit to eat completely cooked and hot food. Okay, never try to eat cold food, like you are taking the food out from the fridge and you are directly eating it, and you are taking it from refrigerator. No, avoid this habit. Try to heat it properly and eat hot foods. Okay, now you should always try to stick yourself with vegetables and fruits that can be peeled off. Okay, the fruits and vegetables that can be peeled off, you should use that. Nowadays people are also peeling these apples and all, then they are eating. They are not directly eating them. Okay, and nowadays cholera vaccine is there. That is very good preventive measure. Go for vaccination. Fine. So this was the prevention. How you can prevent cholera: wash your hands, soap, water frequently, drink safe water, eat completely cooked and hot food, restrict yourself with vegetables and fruits that can be peeled off, and go for vaccination. Okay, so this was for cholera. This is also a bacterial disease. So we will start with few bacterial diseases. Tuberculosis, which is commonly called in our language as TB. Okay, so the causative organism, if we will see, it's what? It's a bacteria. Which bacterium causes TB? Is a Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Okay, so causative organism is a microbacterium. Microbacterium tuberculosis. Fine. So Microbacterium tuberculosis is the causative organism for bacteria that is called as MTB bacteria. Commonly we call it as MTB, like tuberculosis is a short form, that is a TB. Similarly, the causative organism for TB is what? Microbacterium tuberculosis, MTB. Fine. Now, what is the mode of transmission? How this bacteria, this TB bacteria is being transferred from one person to another. So the first very mode is the places where there is overcrowding. What happens? Suppose a person who is suffering from TB, he coughs. When he coughs, the bacteria come out of his mouth and the water droplets spread in the air. Fine. So when these water droplets, they have spread in the air, if a person is beside there, somebody sitting next or somebody besides there, what is going to happen? He will inhale either through nose, either through mouth, that bacteria. This is the Microbacterium tuberculosis. Okay. So what happens now? That person that was next to him, who has taken the bacteria orally, airly, from the airborne, he is also going to be infected. So crowded places, like if you go in banks or some this type of places in the stations and all, where people are sitting besides each other and somebody is coughing, somebody is sneezing, what happens? Those water droplets are going to be in air and in any form, from your mouth, from your nose, you will take it within yourself. So that is going to cause you TB. Okay, that is the tuberculosis. So basically what happens, if somebody is suffering from tuberculosis, he should always cover his mouth with a mask, his nose, so that he could not transmit the bacteria to other persons and other persons do not get infected. Okay, and so one source is the cough and sneeze of an infected person. Second source is the mode of transmission is the contaminated milk. If a milk is contaminated with this bacteria, okay, this Microbacterium tuberculosis, there is a chance that the person who will drink that milk is going to be infected. Okay, so the mode of transmission is the cough and sneeze droplets of infected person. Fine. And then the contaminated milk. Okay, that contaminated milk is going to cause different kinds of bacteria, that is having bacteria, and that will be being, if somebody drink it, he is going to suffer from it. Now the symptoms of tuberculosis, basically there is no symptom for tuberculosis, you cannot get it initially, but there is a chronic cough. Okay, some blood like blood will come from your cough, or that your cough is being tangled with some blood. Okay, so chronic cough is very common in case of tuberculosis. There is a weight loss of a person who is suffering from it. Night sweats are there. When you are sleeping in night, there will be night sweats, and fevers are there. Fever also comes. Okay, so symptoms are there, that chronic cough you can say in fact, that will be blood tingled. Okay, that will be having some covering of blood. Night sweats are there. Okay, the person who is sleeping will have night sweating at the night. Fever is there. Fever also comes. There is a weight loss in case of TB. Okay, so you must have seen that a person who is having TB is mostly very lean and thin. Okay, very lean and thin because he is suffering from TB. Fine, these are some of the symptoms we can see of TB, that there is a weight loss, that's why mostly a person suffering from TB is very thin, fever, night sweats, cough is there, and that cough is containing some kind of blood in it. Fine.